Hello, welcome, and happy Halloween, all my Great Hearts kiddos. So today we are painting our super cute, kind of spooky party. So we have our little ghosties. They're having a party. They're celebrating Halloween for October, and we are going to paint along with them today. Let's make sure we have all of our supplies. So we have our canvas. It's wrapped in the brown paper. Let's put that underneath our canvas so we don't get anything else painty today. We have our paper towel to dry off our brushes. Make sure you have a little water, a little cup with water to wash off your brushes. And we have brushes. So in your little brush pack, we have a few. Let's take a look. We have a big brush. That one's going to be for our background space. We have a medium brush. That one's going to be for probably our ghosties and our party hats and our balloons, things like that. We have our super tiny little detail brush. That one's going to be really good for tiny little eyeballs or outlines, little details as we go along. And maybe the best one is our toothbrush. And we are going to be splattering some stars in our sky in just a little bit here. We also have our little palette of paint. Take off that little rubber band. We're going to take off the top one. And we have all of these colors. So we have white, yellow, kind of a light orange. We have a hot pink, a little dark orange. We have dark purple, dark blue, lighter blue, and a lime green. And extra special, we have this one. There's a little special cup that says glow, and this is glow in the dark paint. So once our painting gets a little bit of sunlight, wherever we want to add this little glow in the dark paint, it's going to glow in the dark later. I don't know if you can see that. You can see it at the bottom. Glowy paint. Okay guys, so let's get started. Let's find our biggest brush for our background, which is our biggest space. We're going to find our little water cup. And we're going to give it a little dip in the water, get things flowing, tap on the paper so it's not all drippy. And we're going to use two colors for our background. We're going to find our dark purple and our darker blue, the darker of the two blues. Doesn't matter which one you start with. I'm going to start with my dark blue maybe. Get a little bit on your brush. And we're going to find our sky. So we're going to start sweeping along in our sky. And whenever you want to switch up your color a little bit in your sky, so you have a little bit of purple in there too. I'm going to get a little of my dark purple also. Don't have to wash off your brush, just go right into that dark purple. And we can mix those two colors as we start to paint along. We're going to fill in all of our background. You can go right over that little balloon string. We'll put that in later with a lighter color mixed with white paint. But for now, we'll paint right over top. Smooth out your paint. Embrace those brush strokes. Your brush strokes are beautiful. can do a little bit more purple, a little bit more blue, whichever you like best. If you need to go to a smaller brush to kind of squeeze your brush in those smaller spaces, go for it. Maybe that medium brush is a good one. The tiny brush, if you need it, it just doesn't hold so much paint. So sometimes it makes really scratchy marks, but it's up to you, whichever brush you feel most comfortable with. We're going to keep filling in all of our background. Make sure you have all those little pieces of white covered up wherever it's peeking through. We want all of our canvas covered in our beautiful nighttime sky. All of our blues and all of our purples. Smooth out your paint so it dries just a little bit faster. And you get all those beautiful brush strokes too. While we have these colors on our brush, on this big brush, we're also going to get a little bit extra on there, and we're going to paint our side edges. So we're going to fill in all of our side edges the same color. Okay, so we're gonna be all done with our big brush. Whenever you're all done with your big brush, let's put it in our water cup and we'll let it hang out there. Just let it soak a bit. And we are going to pick up our toothbrush. This is my favorite part. We are going to splatter on some stars in our sky. Do a little double check around your perimeter. We're going to be splattering a little bit, so maybe scoot off to the side. Anything you don't want to get painty. If there's any phones, if you have any other things you don't want to get painty, scoot maybe the computer a little bit further away, because we're going to splatter some things. So we're going to use our toothbrush. You can use... I use my white paint just by itself. You can also do a little of that glow-in-the-dark paint if you want some glowy stars later. I'm going to start with my white paint just because you're going to see that the brightest. So I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to hold it pretty close to the bristles, and with my other finger, I'm going to get a little poke of paint on my finger. And then I'm going to smear that paint on the bristles, smooth it out. I just want a little bit on the bristles there. And we're not going to pull it, we're just going to pull back on the bristles, like just on the bristle part. And we're going to make some stars. As you start to run out, I'm going to get a little bit more, smear on the bristles, and I'm just pulling back Wow, on the bristles. And we're using white to splatter because it doesn't matter if it gets on any of our little ghosty friends because it's just white paint anyway, and we're going to paint over everything next. So that's why we're doing that now. If you want to do some of the glow-in-the-dark sprays, that'll work just the same. Again, it's kind of see-through-y. It's kind of a white and glow in the dark color. So it won't get on your ghosties. You won't be able to see it later because we're going to paint over everything. Yay! So we have all those really cool little galactic-y textures. If you want any bigger stars, kind of like little constellations, bigger stars, we're not going to use our toothbrush. That's going to be our only toothbrush step. So we can put our toothbrush in the water whenever you're done with it. And we're going to find either our smallest brush or our medium brush, whichever one, either one's good, because we're not going to use the bristle part. We're going to use the end. So we're going to use the back handle part, whichever one is good. I used some yellow for my stars, but you can do any colors that you have, whichever colors. You can do different colors if you want, but whichever color you choose, we're going to use the back handle, the plastic part. I'm going to do yellow just because I have yellow in my example, and we're going to dip, 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 and dot, dot, dot. The paint runs out pretty quick, so maybe every 2 or 3 dots, get another little dip, and then add on some more. All in your sky. You could do some glowy stars too. Dip into that glow-in-the-dark paint, might be neat. As many or as few as you like. Whenever you're ready for it, we're gonna fill in our ghosties next. So whichever color you want to do them, I'm gonna match mine to these guys, but you can definitely do different colors if you want. You can have them all the same color. You can do kind of like 2 in 1, all different like mine, however you like. But we are going to add a little bit of a white paint into each of these colors. No matter which colors you choose, we're gonna add a little bit of white paint. So I'm going to fill in, let's start with our little blue guy, our little guy down here. So I'm going to use my lighter of the 2 blues. I'm going to get a little scoop of white, and you can either mix it on the edge or on a new spot on your plate. I want a pretty light blue. So a little bit of blue, a lot of white. So mostly white, and then a little bit of the color that you're choosing. So start off with a good scoop of white, and then add a little bit of that color. We're gonna go over the eyes because we're gonna trace them back in black paint in just a little bit here. I'll go around the cheeks though, since I'm gonna make them pink cheeks. Take it nice and slow. I have this medium brush. So not my smallest, we're going to use that one for our outlines. Smooth out your paint so you can see those little eyes underneath. I'll go around the mouth, and you can go over those little arms too, because later on, once this is dry, we're going to go around and we're going to outline stuff. Take it nice and slow, get all around those little edges, smooth out your paint. Don't need much paint on your brush at a time, just a little bit at a time. A little goes a long way. I'm painting around my lollipop though. So around my lollipop, around my mouth, around my cheeks. And I'm not filling in my hat yet. My hat will be a different color. I'm going to wash off my medium brush and dry off my medium brush on my paper towel. And I'm going to move over to my next little ghostie. So again, I'm going to get a good scoop of white and a little bit of my color. And I'm going to make a really light green next. I'm just going to make a really light neon green. And I'm going to fill in my next ghostie. On this guy, I'm going to paint around my eyeballs, but you can go over the mouth, the little smile. I'm going to go around the cheeks, but you can go over the arms. And I'm painting right up to the edge of the head, right to the edge where the little hat, the little party hat's going to be, because we're going to make that different. Okay, we have 2 ghosties. Now, let's make 3 ghosties. I'm going to do a light pink, so I'm going to get a good scoop of white and put that on the edge of my white or my pink here, and I'm going to do a little bit of pink and a lot of white to make a really, really light pink. Whenever you have a color that you like, we're going to fill in all of our pink ghostie. We'll go around the eyes. You can go over the little cheek lines. I'm going to go around the little party favor. Make that a different color. Gonna go up to the hat, fill it in. You can go over those little arm lines. We'll trace those back later. And all the way down to the bottom of the ghostie. Cool, we have our 3rd ghostie. Now we're gonna let those dry for a little while, and while we're letting those dry, we're gonna fill in our hats, and then we're gonna fill in our extra little surprises over here. So we're gonna fill in our little our little balloon, our little lollipop, but let's do our hats first. On my example, I did just yellow for the base. We're going to let that dry a little bit and they'll put some decorations on it. Definitely don't have to do them yellow. You can do them all different colors. You can do them all the same colors, whatever you like. But I'm going to follow along with this one and I'm going to do some yellow. So some bright lemony yellow just by itself. I'm going to add yellow into these little hats. Take it nice and slow. Especially in that little pointy part, because that's a little tough. So we have some hats. I'm going to let those dry for a while, and let's fill in our balloon next. I'm going to follow along this one, and I'm going to do some of this bright neon-y orange. It's right next to the yellow on my plate. And then I'm going to fill in all of the center. So this is like a big like candy balloon. We'll let it dry and we're going to add some more details in a little bit. And then while I have this color on my brush, I'm going to match it to the little lollipop too, because they're both candies. Then I'm going to let that dry. Oh, I almost forgot. So this little color, I'm going to match this center color to that little bottom little tie of the balloon also. I'll do these different. I washed off my same little medium brush and dried it off, and then I'm going to fill in these little parts. So like the little ties of the candy. I'm going to make mine a light pink. So I'm going to use that same light pink that I have mixed up already. Again, you can do a different color. And I'm going to fill in the little sides. And take it nice and slow. Smooth out your paint. This is a small space, so don't need much paint on your brush. I'm going to let those dry for a while, and let's fill in this little wee over here. Little wee. So I did mine just a green by itself, that lime green by itself. If you want to switch to that tiny little brush, you definitely can. I'm going to keep using this medium brush. It just holds a little bit more paint, but this one feels a little big. You want a little bit smaller, go for it. You have that little one there for you. And then again, if you want to switch to that tiny brush, go for it, but I'm going to fill in the little handle or the little stick of the lollipop. And do that green also. So I did the little wee, and then I did the little stick of the lollipop to match. So we're going to be all done with our medium brush, and we're going to pick up our super tiny little small brush. There. And let's fill in the whites of the eyes. I want to fill in the whites of the eyes first, so they have a little time to dry before we put on the centers of the eyes, because it might squish together and kind of give you a bit of a gray. So I'm going to do the whites of the eyes first. A little bit of white on your tiny, tiny little small brush. And we're going to fill in whites of the eyes. Take it nice and slow. Don't need much paint on your brush because it's a super tiny little space. On this guy also. Those are the only ones with their eyes kind of wide open. This last little guy has his little happy eyes. His little closed eyes. So we don't have to do those parts. We're going to let those dry for a while. And let's fill in the cheeks next. The cheeks and the tongue. So I did mine just a bright hot pink just by itself without the white. And we're going to fill in the little cheeks. On this one, we'll fill in the tongue. Later on, we're going to let that dry a little bit and then fill in the black paints. We'll do the black like last. That'll be our last little step. Otherwise, things might get kind of smushy and smudgy. So we'll do the black last, very last little step. Let's fill in our cheeks. These have cheeks. And if you did a ghosty that is light pink, we are going to do some outlining next. So while you have that light pink on your brush, on your small brush, we're going to give our pink ghosty a little trace. So we're going to follow those black Sharpie lines all the way. Now this little one's not going to hold much paint, so whenever it gets a little scratchy, instead of pressing harder just keep grabbing more paint on your brush. And that'll give you a nicer, smoother line. I'm painting on top of my light pink instead of on my background. That way I can see it. So it's harder to see it when it's on the background like that, but we can definitely see it when it's on the light pink like that. So we're gonna go all around the edges, keeping our brush a little bit more on our ghosty color, on our color mixed with white, than on our background color, which is kind of dark and we won't be able to see it. Take it nice and slow. Keep grabbing more paint on your brush. We're gonna follow that little cheek, boop. The little arm also. If you made your little candy balloon pink on the edges while we have that color, we can trace around the edges all the way around. And I used that same pink, if you want to make my swirl in the middle. So I started in the middle and I went around and around. So start in the middle, and then the game of the swirl is circle around your center dot. Try not to touch the line in front of it. That's the swirl game. Go all the way around till you reach your edges. Kind of give it a little outline on those edges. You can trace that little part on the bottom. There we are. And I have a little swirl on the little lollipop also. So I'm going to do a little swirl on this one too. So I'm going to start off with my little dot. And then I'm going to go around my dot, trying not to touch the line in front. So we have our little swirl on our lollipop. We have our swirl on our balloon, and we have it traced. Let's wash off our brush. So we are going to keep outlining with our super tiny little brush. And let's do this guy next. So since we have a light green, we'll do green by itself. That lime green just by itself. And we're going to again follow a little bit more on top of the light green than on your background. Kind of follow on the inside edge of your outline so you can see it. It's okay if your line is kind of thick. That's what we want. We want to be able to see it. Take it nice and slow. We're going to go all the way around. Keep grabbing more paint on your brush. Don't hold much. Grabbing more. And follow the little arm. I'm going to outline our little blue ghosty next. So I'm going to use my little tiny brush. I did wash it off. I dried it off. I'm going to get a little bit of my blue just by itself. Again, we're painting on top of our light blue, or our color mixed with white, or following on the inside edge. Keep grabbing more paint on your brush. Take it slow, there's no rush. Great guys, so we have all of our ghosties outlined. Now we need some decorations on our hats. So different things we can do polka dots, we can do stripies, we can do swirls, we can do zigzags, you can write letters, you can write names, whatever you want. But we are going to use our little brush. I did wash it off and I dried it off. We can do some little stripies over here, whichever colors you want. No right answers. I'm going to do a little pink. And I'm going to do some little stripes on my hat. If you want little polka dots like that guy, you can use the back handle of that brush. A little dip of paint. I'm going to do little dots on our hat. If you want a bigger dot, you can do a press, a wiggle, and then a lift. And that makes the dot a little bit bigger. Press, wiggle, lift. Press, wiggle, lift on the hat. On this one, I did dots, but kind of in rows or like stripies. That one's like a dark purple, but you can do a different color. I'll do dark purple too. And I'm going to make these dots in a little row. So it's kind of like stripes, but dots also. But whatever you like, you can design your hat how you want it. There we are. So we also need a little bit of decoration before I forget on our little wee. I did some stripies, same little brush, wash it off, dry it off. I did a little bit of blue just by itself. Whichever blue you like, the lighter one or the darker one. You can do a different color if you want. And I'm just going to do little stripes all along. A little party favorite, a little wee. Boop. Getting towards our last little steps here. Let's fill in our eye centers and our mouth. So let's fill in our eye centers first. I'm going to find a little bit of black paint. I forget to put a little bit on my plate, so I put some right here. And we're going to fill in the whole entire eye. Just a little bit on your brush. Take it nice and slow with the black paint. The black paint gets a little smudgy sometimes, so take it really slow. Fill in that little center circle. Same on this one. This one's looking over here. You can cover over that Sharpie line. That's okay. Fill in the whole thing. We're going to fill in the mouth. On our little ghosty at the bottom, go around that tongue. Take it nice and slow around that tongue. And on this one, let's trace our little smiley eyes. If this one's a girly ghost, maybe we'll put some little eyelashes. Don't have to, but if you want to. If we have any other girly ghosts, we put little eyelashes too. But again, don't have to. We're gonna let that dry a little bit, and all we have left are just little highlights certain places, just to make things kind of pop, make things kind of shine, make them look a little rounder. So we're going to keep using our small brush since we just had a little bit of black on there. Let's give it a really good scrub, maybe a couple scrubs, a good dry on your paper towel. And we're going to use just white paint just by itself with our super tiny little brush. And on each little ghosty, we are going to find the inside of the outline, so not on the outline, but kind of on top of it. And let's find a little wiggle. So we're going to do a little wiggle, and it's a little hard to see on top of that paint because it's a little light. We'll do a little shine on top of the head because there's a little moonlight reflecting. We'll do a little highlight on top of the arms and inside of the outline, so underneath the outline so we can see it. And then on that top little ghosty, we'll do a little shine on the cheek too. Let's do our next ghosty. So same thing, we'll do our little wiggle at the bottom. Get a little bit more paint. We'll do the tops of the arms and then the top of the head. Troop. Get a little bit more paint. I ran out. Boop. There we go. And then same on the sky. I'm going to do a little wiggle on the bottom. Since it's a little darker, you can kind of see that a little bit better. And then a little sweep on the head, right underneath the blue, and then a little sweep on the arm. A little sweep on the arm. Now you guys might have caught this before I did. I forgot my little mouth on this one. So I'm gonna get a little bit of black. I forgot my little smile. You guys probably saw that though. But if you missed it, like me, we're gonna fill in our little smile. And then we'll go back to our white. Let's wash off our brush. My last little highlights are going to be on my little balloon over here. So in this little kind of twisty wrappy parts, we're going to do a little sweep in each of those three little curves. And then I'm also going to add, kind of in that center part of the swirl, I'll put a little sweep of white. Like wherever my pink maybe is not, I'll put a little white. So I'm doing kind of like a second swirl, like a highlight swirl. I'll do that on this one too, so kind of find the orange. I'm kind of tracing the orange like you're following a little maze. And I'll do a little highlight there. So this is an optional step. If you want, you can do like a little dot of white in the eyeballs, like the pupil. Back handle of your brush and your brush, get a little dip of white, little dot, if you want, little dot, if you want. It makes like a little bit cuter eyes. This is maybe like spookier eyes, but whichever you like. So very, very, very lastly, wherever you want it to go, we can add our glow-in-the-dark paint. So we're going to add this on the very last layer because we want it to absorb the light, so be super glowy at night. So I'm going to add some of this clear glow-in-the-dark paint wherever I want things to glow lighter. make sure that your paint underneath is a little bit dry before you paint this on top of it, or else you might get a little smudgy or a little smeary. Oh, I just noticed one little spot that we forgot. Can you guys spot it? I forgot my string. Oh no! It's like gonna go back up into the galaxy and float away. So we're gonna trace over a string. If you haven't done so already, you guys probably caught it because you guys are awesome. I'm gonna do a little bit of a light pink. I'm gonna do my tiny little brush. And I'm just gonna trace it. If you forgot it like me. There we go. Now it won't go anywhere. We can keep our little balloon. So last little step. We need an artist signature. So, right hand corner, I like to put my initials, but you can put your whole name or your first name, last name. You can put the date, whatever you like. So we need a nice sunny place to put this painting so that when nighttime comes and the light turns out, what? Things will glow. I don't know if you can see that. So wherever you put that glow paint, things will glow later. Whoa. Awesome, guys. So we're all done. We have our super cool little spooky party going on. We have all of our cool glow paint. We are ready for Halloween. Thank you so much for painting with us today, and make sure you open your little surprise that's included. Happy Halloween, guys. We'll see you next time.